Hell no. Yep, I see where that ends. Yeah, I'm doing it. Catch me dead.
Why didn't you guys tell me that TVs did that? Damn it, I saw the TV glow! A genre that's utterly surprised me this year has been horror. While the other genres certainly haven't lacked, horror has been able to excel this year. Mostly due to the more creative and passionate directors getting the green light for more creative and passionate projects. While the last few years have been alright, 2022 having Smile, 2023 having Talk to Me, 2024 had Late Night with the Devil, I haven't seen it yet, but Maxine, the third from Ty West, and to me, the second best horror movie I've watched this year, A24's I Saw the TV Glow. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but I love A24. Even if their movie isn't horror, it's usually pretty enjoyable on a level of creativity and style. And this movie is definitely no exception. You guys know the drill? Good stuff, bad stuff. This is I Saw the TV Glow. Our story follows Owen, a young man played by Justice Smith, as he becomes strangely obsessed with a weird yet familiar TV show called The Pink Opaque. It's a die-hard fan of the show, Maddie, played by Bridget Lundy Payne, who invites him to officially watch it as it seems the show is always on after Owen's bedtime. Through the show, Owen and Maddie find out that not only did the show bring them to each other, but it also seems to have reunited them. And from there, a whirlwind of mystery and trauma comes to both their lives. I don't know if I've ever discussed this about a film before, but this movie's colors are gorgeous. They complement that eerie vibe the film gives off throughout the movie. It's a cool little pink and green palette that blends perfectly together, and beautifully complements the film's tone. Now, I've made fun of Justice Smith in the past, rightfully so, but here's the thing about his performance. Even though I liked it, it is going to be polarizing for viewers because, and I can't believe I'm saying this, it's very similar to Joaquin Phoenix's performance in Beau is Afraid. And that the real chill factor comes from how it's clearly this socially awkward guy put in a terrifying situation. But he doesn't just take a page out of Phoenix's book, because a big difference here is that Phoenix was more anxious, not knowing how to take things. Even the small stuff like sudden noises. With Smith, he doesn't really show much and is more awkward than anxious. And when things get hairy, we see more emotion come out of him. I like that the name Pink Opaque is mentioned more in the first half of this movie than it's talked about, because it saves the big twist with the show for the final act and makes it a way better twist. The effects, while sometimes cheap and indie looking, are just the right amount of scary. There's this ice cream man, and while in the show he's portrayed to be more like a Power Rangers bad guy, which I'm fully convinced the Pink Opaque is just Power Rangers with any CW show from the 90s, but then we see other versions of him and he's so well done. Not to mention the ice cream truck has some of the best cinematography in the movie. About 25 to 30 minutes in, there's a time jump 2 years, and that's when Justice Smith finally feels uncomfortably comfortable in this role. They also introduced a health scare plot thing with Owen's mom, which initially I wasn't too big on, but looking into it, it literally does exactly what Beau is Afraid did and introduces outside trauma that adds to the main character's inside trauma. For Beau, it was the fact that his mother was dead. For Owen, it's a scare with his mother. Some will say the acting in the Pink Opaque itself comes off as hokey, but considering it's literally Power Rangers with some kind of like CW 90s show, it's believable that a show this underground and weird would have that acting. Speaking of which, when they start explaining more about the Pink Opaque and showing it a lot more, this movie becomes way more interesting. And the weird stuff is greatly welcomed. Pretty much every scene after the 40-minute mark is so well executed. Specifically the bar scene and the arcade scene, and finally, this movie is really disturbing. It's crazy how well executed the actual horror element of this movie really is. Alright, time for the TV to stop glowing, turn it off, it's time for the bad stuff. As much as I adore the movie's color palette, sometimes it makes the characters fall out of focus, and yeah, it can really hurt some certain scenes. Like I said, Smith's performance, while I liked it, I'm aware it's not for everyone. It can come off as whiny and bratty at times, specifically in the first half. This film sadly suffers from a problem I see with most indie movies, and it's that it holds on shots for way too long. In certain movies, holding on a shot for too long can add a level of discomfort, but it doesn't do that here. Specifically towards the beginning of the movie, when Owen is talking to Maddie in the cafeteria, they hold on a shot of Maddie for a weird amount of time, and I can't really see why, considering Owen was talking in this scene too. Also, this film starts incredibly slow. Don't expect to get fully invested until about 20 minutes in. And look, I'm all for family drama, but holy shit, this film didn't need it. This film could have gone all this time without showing the dad, who I just picked up is played by Fred Durst. That's random. And I don't blame the kid for this, but young Owen can come off as a little bland. Don't get me wrong, he probably just had poor directions, and I can't blame him for that. This film has a lot of exposition, just telling the audience about stuff rather than show it. For certain scenes it works, but specifically when they're talking about the show, the literal concept of the movie, why explain stuff when imagery is often a film's best friend? Also throughout the film, Owen breaks the fourth wall like Ferris Bueller does. For no reason. It doesn't feel necessary. We're seeing what's going on. The scene with Owen and Maddie at the bleachers goes on way too long. I'm talking, this is a 10-minute scene for absolutely no reason. And this film suffers from, and I can't believe I'm comparing the two, but It's the same problem Despicable Me 4 had. It introduces things that aren't really utilized. For instance, there's a scene where Owen's working at this place and he walks into a room and two coworkers are having sex. Oh, okay, will that add to his trauma internally like we saw with the health scare earlier? No, it's just them having sex. And they laugh about it and tease Owen for it later, like, we had sex! Like, really? Grown-ass man, too. Well, with that out of the way, here are...
It's this friendly number 7!
This is a damn good creative horror movie. I don't think it reaches Late Night with the Devil, where the scares were way better. But for what it did, I think it did it well. It might be slow and show a lot of issues most indie horror movies have, but overall, I was impressed with this film. If you get the chance, check it out. It's worth your time. I'm gonna make it up to the TV. I really shouldn't have judged it for glowing.
I'm sorry, TV. Can we make amends? President Woodrow Wilson!